Hey everyone, it's Paula from the SheHH Podcast team, and welcome back to SheHH, where we interview women in Christian music all around the world. In today's episode, we speak to singer-songwriter Trulah. She tells us a bit about her musical journey, why she's passionate about making timeless music, and how we can effectively steward our gifts. This is a great episode. I know you're going to enjoy it. Make sure to share with a friend and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at SheHH Podcast.
What's up, guys? It's Hannah, and we are back with the SheHH Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Trulah. And if you don't know Trulah, you should. I'm sorry, but that's why we're here. So thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing well. It's kind of gloomy outside today, but that's okay. So,
yeah. Where are you at?
I'm in Texas. Yeah, and you're in Tennessee, right? Okay.
Yes, Nashville.
Nice. Awesome. So we have actually spoken before, and I have to say, I love your artistry and just your message and what you're about. And honestly, if I could describe you and your sound in one word, it would be refreshing. Because I mean, not just like your sound and your style, but also your demeanor and just your clear devotion to Christ. I feel like, even from that conversation we had a while back where I literally like DM'd you and like random questions, which we'll talk about later. And then you were like, yeah, let's schedule a time to call. And I was like, dang, she's actually taking the time, to actually answer from the heart. I feel like you can really tell that you're a woman after God's heart. And that there's no like flashing lights, like no gimmicks, no games. So that's just kind of like my perspective on you. And honestly, when we were talking, I know we're like relatively the same age, but when I was talking with you, I felt like I was speaking with like an older sister because I feel like you just have so much wisdom. So thank you just for taking the time to share your heart with us. And that's just kind of my perspective. But I want to hear in your own words, who are you? Tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Humbled and honored. My name's Trulah. I am 23. I'm a singer-songwriter and musician, again, living here in Nashville. Originally from North Carolina, though. Shout out to the home team. And yeah, I'm trying to think of how we should start and get into all this. It's like the nutshell versions of like an intro versus just
whatever you want to say.
I love the Lord. I do. And he has given me just clarity of what to do with, this gift. But it is continually. There's been so many years and times in my life where I had no idea what it was for. And I think that can creep in at any moment. Last year, I had a time when I was like, I have no idea what this is for. Should I just throw in the towel? But he continues to renew me and strengthen me and give me purpose. But it really is, it has to be in him. And so I guess, I just kind of wanted to start by just saying like, our gifts are from him to be used by him. And that is going to be a daily, continual thing to remember that and to renew that commitment with him, especially with the way of the world. So that's kind of why I sing, who I sing to and about, and just humbled and honored if anyone hears it, because it starts in this room and you never know how it's going to work out and what it's for or when the timing is. But just trusting him and living a very daily life with him of like dependence and Lord, what are you doing? How's this going to work? What's up? But because you get to know him more when you live like that.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you so much for sharing. What would you say kind of sparked your passion for music?
I definitely started, I started singing when I was really young, just like in the backseat, apparently. I was always
Yeah.
But I was a very shy kid, so like talking was not my thing. If you got to know me, truly got to know me, then I might trust you and I like talk. But I was just pretty shy, so I didn't really sing out ever until by myself till I was like 10 or something.
Okay.
But I did grow up doing musicals, and so I think that's kind of like, which is, I mean, I just am not into acting. I think my acting was terrible. So I'm grateful for it because I think it got me, in choirs, and I grew up in church as well. So church choirs and singing. And so then by the time I was in middle school, I was leading worship. And that's when I really was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to use this gift for him. And so but I think it all came with just being more confident in who he is, and to then be able to even like open my mouth to sing before anyone, because I was like, I don't think I want to do that. Yeah. At the same time, I had like hopes that I would be able to use it in that way, but there were hurdles of like, when would I be more open with it to be able to, so there's development that God definitely had to do during that time. But yeah, I think around 6th grade was when I was more confident in trying out like singing and doing competitions and stuff like that.
Shout out to 6th grade. No, I feel like that's like such a
when he was in the team.
Exactly. What would you say, or I guess who kind of inspires your sound and your style? I feel like it's so unique and timeless.
I grew up listening to a lot of, which I'm like a little embarrassed sometimes to share this, but like just mainstream pop music, like whatever was out.
I'm just kidding.
My mom would try. My mom would take the good stuff and get me to listen to it, like 70s, 80s, anything, and I was not having it. So I just loved whatever was fresh. And then even in Christian music, and what was the newest, hippest, worst, whatever. And then when I to college, I went to a school in Memphis called Visible Music College, a small Christian college there. And also that city, I mean, it's just totally rooted in soul and in blues. And so when I went there, it kind of switched from pop and R&B to like enjoying more just 70s as a whole decade, and just more soulful sounds and just older things. And so I kind of went to the Stevie Wonders, the Al Greens, the Ella Fitzgerald, all those major ones. And then, but of course, like knowing I'm going to sing about the Lord. So not really putting boundaries on it, even if I'm not necessarily hearing these sounds specifically directly singing about God, that doesn't mean it can't be done. And then the awesome thing is, since then, God has just given us, and I know you've seen it too, just such a rich community of believers around the world who are, kind of paving that path of newer sounds, different sounds, more genre specific sounds versus, just the radio or maybe what we grew up with in the Christian world, and kind of just there, it's limitless. And upholding truth with that is so important. And people that are willing to do it, it's so cool to come alongside. Because when I was in like high school, I remember it was, in your small town, it's like, no one's doing this. Like, how do you even go about it? Where do you play? Like, where does this fit musically? Like, what even is it? But and now it's kind of humbling, but also like encouraging that there's so many other people doing that as well. So I think it's kind of a mixture, but I do love like 70s and soul music. And then just kind of inviting that, and jazz. I love jazz. So inviting all of that in.
No, that's so true. I love what you said about how like people are becoming, I think, unafraid to experiment, with genres. I mean, you see it with like Darla Balthazar and doing lo-fi, Sarah Natalie doing lo-fi, and more of the neo soul sounds, and it's like purely for Christ, which is so unique. And I think that's something that we probably should have been doing, since the beginning, because we're called to like redeem all aspects of creation, including all genres. So, and it's just fun. It's honestly fun. So
really. And it's been cool because, I've connected with those people. And when I talk to them, it's like so like a lot of us are kind of around the same age. So it's like when God was speaking to me and just encouraging me to continue in that, when I was younger, like he was doing the same thing in them, and you feel so alone at that point. But again, he's doing it in all different genres. And so it's been just really encouraging to hear how God has been doing it in multiple people and kind of bringing up this new sound. Because we all grew up listening to terrible lyrical music because we like the sound, and now like he's like, now you can go and bring that relief to people because it's so, just
they want it.
Not the so it's cool to just kind of hand in hand go at that with them.
Yeah, not to bash on CCM, but we needed something new. So for sure. Something that's really cool in your Insta and Spotify bio, you say music is only as timeless as its message. Let's sing songs that last forever. Can you, which is beautiful, by the way, can you unpack that for us a little bit?
Yeah. You did your homework. So I recently kind of changed it to that. And I think it's kind of tied with, I'm constantly changing it because I kind of, or bios in general, I want it to be relevant to exactly where I am. And I hope that one will continue to be relevant. But I think last year it really produced something like a statement like that, because I was finding myself, like God was just doing a lot of internal things. There was nothing external that was kind of bearing on me to get me to this place, but internally he was almost stripping me of just any dependence I have in things and even my own voice, to the point where I wasn't even getting any satisfaction or fulfillment out of it. And I was kind of confused and just like, what's the point? And then I would also, when I was confused, I was kind of going to maybe what the enemy would also whisper. It's just like, there's so many other voices doing exactly what you're doing. Why you have another one? What is the point? Like, look at your timeline. Everyone's doing, exactly what you're doing. And you're not special. The world doesn't need it. Stop. And I remember I got to literally a place where I think I was telling someone about those thoughts, and I finished the conversation. I was like, yeah. And so I'm believing those things. Like, it wasn't like a redeeming conversation where I'm like, don't believe it. I was actually like, I actually like believe all of that, and I don't really know how to move. And but through that, God has been so faithful. I do think that there was a tendency to go so far in the other way to where I'm believing lies. But I think God was doing a sort of stripping that was healthy and merciful to me to cause me to be dependent on strictly who he is, not even what we do for him, not any of the fruits that he allows to happen, but literally on just who he is and abiding in that, and that he is enough. So when there's not things on the calendar, are you content in him? I was experiencing lots of discontentment and trying to understand and unpack that. And anyways, and then I ended up having COVID like last September. And during that time, I didn't sing for like, it was like 20 something days. And I remember that being another thing that really played into it, of like, when I did finally sing somewhere, it meant something totally different than any time I'd sung before. You hope you get on stage full of grace and humility, but when you really have had things stripped and you don't know when you'll be able to sing, you don't even know if you have the courage or the strength to even want to do it again. But then when he allows a tiny little Bible study of 12 people, that's like your first thing back, and when you see that it was serving, like, it really wasn't for you, but in serving, you were fully like poured into. And that's what happened. So I realized that the only way I'm ever going to feel as though I have purpose, the only way I'm ever this thing's going to be worthwhile. I can even be singing about God and it be not worthwhile if my motives or if how I'm approaching it is off. And so we got me to a place where I remember I was driving the car just crying, like asking him, what is up with this year? Like, why do I feel like this? And he was like, you're trying to find cause, you're trying to find purpose apart from me. And even in doing things for me. And so he just renewed me in a commitment to him of like, you are my cause, you are my purpose. Even if I never open my mouth to sing again, like you are my cause and you are enough. And it's kind of, it just gave me a little restart to when I approach music, I'm just approaching it refreshed and different. And so that statement kind of is just what I want to represent. Like, I don't want to sing songs that don't have eternal value, and I don't want to sing when it's not serving, when it's more entertainment, which does challenge, has just caused me to be extremely dependent and just inquire of the Lord, is this what you want me to do? Is this how you want me to do it? Because as great as genre in artistry can be, there's such a tendency, like it literally takes so much just self-discipline and accountability to know if you're doing it for a show, or if not, even if in the name of Christ. And I think when it gets into artistry with worship, it can totally do that. People worship, but it can be a little easier, at least to know when things are impure, because it is so different and it's supposed to be uplifting to all men, all people. But with artistry, because it can be so specific and it is so cool and it's fun, I think there's more of we need to just be in check and make sure that it's for him and we're not putting on a show, and that we are just mirrors, if anything, to glorify him, even if it's more crafty and personal and unique sounding. And so with all that, I was just like, Lord, I want you to be my cause. If I'm going to sing, I need that thing to last forever, because I wasn't experiencing any purpose, any fulfillment, any satisfaction, even in the very thing that you gave me to do. And so I know that it literally only comes from you if it's going to have purpose or meaning.
Yeah,
so
that's good. That was like jam-packed. That's such a rich... No, I love it. No, I love it. And I've asked a couple other women on the show, like, how can an artist protect themselves, a Christian artist protect themselves from idolizing music, or, like swaying slowly, very, very slowly into a kind of a performance mindset, because it's an important, it's something important that we should be thinking about all the time. It should be at the forefront of our minds, even with any gift that the Lord gives us. If I'm serving at church, I do graphics, right? I make graphics. So if I am making graphics, but then a switch flips in my mind and I'm like, yeah, I made that, and it's like, whoa, it's like,
at any moment, like anyone.
Like, so it's so important, but I love it. So just as rich as that little caption is, I would say your lyrics are really powerful. They're also equally as rich. I saw on your website, you even write out kind of your heart behind the lyrics, which everybody should go check out at trulahmusic.com. Subtle plug. But I noticed like not all of your songs are on there. So kind of first, what made you decide to write out your lyrics in that way, with like the heart behind it? And then also, why did you choose those specific songs?
Yeah. In inquiring of the Lord, okay, if this is what I'm going to be doing, I know I have to ask for permission, like how to steward it. And he'll give, just ideas randomly. And not that this writing out your lyrics is some lofty, amazing thing, but it definitely came from him because it wasn't my idea. And so when I approached my website and what to do with that, I definitely wanted it to feel intimate. I wanted it to feel like you're talking with me, or that I am the person on the other side of the computer, because I am, because I'm independent. I don't want to be talking third person, or, so I was like, let's approach it like all the songs and like the record, and it feel like a journal entries or something. And then with clarity, like especially with Christian music, we're not just putting out kind of abstract ideas and we want it to be so mysterious and you'd have to figure out what it means. Like, I want to be as clear as possible. I really do. So that you know what I'm talking about, who I'm talking about. Was rain down about rain? Was it about God's blessing? Or was it about suffering? Well, that's clear.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have verses that, came for those songs. So that is the kind of why. Definitely a God idea. And then I don't even know if I fully thought too much about which songs, but I did try to do all the ones from Prologue and then the latest single, Sign of the Times. And then I think before that, sometimes, at least in my mind, I'm like, no one is thinking about Home EP, which is like the EP that I did in high school. I did that one. But I do leave it, of course, on Spotify and stuff, even though, my voice has changed, everything's changed. But I love, seeing, because I love hearing other artists and seeing how much they've changed and developed. And I know that even if just one person's listening to it, it's totally worth it, even if sound different now. But so I guess I didn't really think to put those ones on there, but maybe I should, because
you never know.
It's Spotify. Someone might
You
want to
never
know, but
yeah. No, I think that's really cool. You definitely do get that really cozy, like intimate feel from your website. So I think you did a really good job just kind of stewarding that vision that the Lord gave you. And also, honestly, thank you for explaining your lyrics, because it drives me nuts. I know that there's like an element, to mystery. Like, I love being mysterious, blah, 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 even in Christian circles. But I'm like, girl, like, I'm just trying to understand, like, can I relate to your lyrics? Like, is your theology in check? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And so I appreciate it. But yeah, so you mentioned it. Your latest EP is called Prologue, and it came out in 2020, and it's pretty awesome. So everybody should go listen to it. Congratulations, first of all. But I want to know what inspired the project.
It's pretty interesting. So I just love how God works, because when you surrender your gift, I mean, he doesn't work in a typical fashion. And the thing about it is, in the moment, it makes no sense. And it can be like the slower way, or the way that, again, there's no clarity, or it's confusing.
Yeah.
But you can rest in that he is working. And so basically, when I moved here to Nashville from Memphis, again, I was in school there, and then came here, I moved in total blind faith. Like, I had 2 weeks to find a roommate before I needed to be out. But I always knew I was eventually I just kind of had I had visited Nashville in high school and just knew that something about that place is home. Don't know when. So I actually tried to move here at different times, like my senior year of high school, or maybe instead of college. So everything is God's timing, God's will. So it ended up being 2 years after college, moved here blindly. It's not like I had a record deal. I was coming here with something set up. It was like, I just know I'm supposed to be there. And so in that, I just came and I just started writing. And I don't even write a ton of songs. Like, I'm not writing every day, or I think that's awesome. People who do that. That is, I would.
Yeah.
But it's more of when something's heavy on my heart, or recently it's been more of like, let's try to be intentional about writing. But for this project, it was more of like something that I was learning about God, or Rain Down was just randomly, I wrote that one with a friend as soon as I got here. I met him, and that's like the only song we've ever written together. And he played keys on the record, so he's involved. But that one was kind of a fluke, just like a jam. And then so they all kind of vary, but they were all written kind of as, in my mind, just I'm only thinking about this one song. And I never thought that they would be side by side on a project. And I think just with this project, how it is set up, of like, they are all intertwined, and the interludes kind of connect them. And it feels like something that maybe was set out to do together. To see God's hand was really just special to me personally, because again, I had no idea that they would make sense or go together. So basically, I had a show like 2 months before I started making plans for the record, that showed me, God used it to show me, like, you have the band, you have the songs. And it was actually the band that was like, why don't we record these? If we have already done them, like, they're ready. And I was like, okay, I guess. And you guys would be willing? Like, that sounds fun. Let's do it. And I have a really good producer friend who I've known for so long. And so we've always wanted to work together. And so I basically met with him in January of 2020. It was like the first week. And before that, no plans for a record. And we sat down and just kind of dreamed it up. There was nothing really ready to go on paper, but it was just kind of like, what if we could do a record this year in this time? Something. And so I went back home and I felt really assured and pumped. And I was like, I feel like God might be allowing this. Like, this could be the time of like a collection of songs. And so I went home and I wrote down every possible song. And then the Lord just kind of like with the website, it was like, when I gave it to him, I was like, okay, what is this? He showed me how they actually made sense together and how they would go together. And then also waiting a little bit longer after that, I think I wrote Lost to Be Found right before, like sometime before the record.
Okay.
So that one wouldn't have been in there had I done it another time. So that's kind of a testament to just God's hand and his weaving it together. And it's cool because it does reflect like literal journal entries sort of things. And that is my journal on the cover and has kind of all these stories in it. And so, but that is how it works in real life. So like you read back and in the moment when I'm reading these or when I'm writing these journal entries, life makes no sense. Everything is like, I'm like, Lord, what are you doing? How do I trust you? What am I learning about? Like, where are, and then when you go back and read it a year later, you're like, wow, look at his faithfulness. And it's almost like that's with putting these songs together. And then add on top of that his faithfulness and timing, because we recorded it pretty quick in February.
Dang.
It was like we had a practice night. A lot of my friends were in Memphis, musician friends. So they came in for just the weekend and we ran everything down on like a Friday night and a Saturday like morning. And anyways, because COVID took place that
like right after
the quarantine part. Right after. So it was we only had like 2 weeks after or something before my producer was like, yeah, I can't have anyone over anymore. So, and then I just went back in and did like the BGVs and stuff like that. So again, had God's timing not been there, there would have been no guidance. And then, he was just very faithful with the whole process.
That's crazy. It's just so funny. I think everybody, January of 2020, were like, yeah, it's the vision. It's 2020 vision. And it was like, oh, it was like we had like what, like a month, 2 months, and but hey, but God used it. So I think that's perfect, just, and it's like funny because we have no idea, and so you had no idea that, the world was going to shut down essentially, but you guys are like, boom, 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 it's moving. We got it. So.
Yeah. And then I actually had something to do, I was just able to just sit at home the whole time and just be prepping the release. And then of course, songs like Rain Down that I thought I just wrote for fun in one instance, now it's coming to a world that is actually experiencing suffering. And this is a song to rejoice and call people to rejoice. And so, even in the content of when it came out, it was just, I saw his hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's really like a narrative, I'd say, when I was listening through it and even just the structure of it, it does feel like we're reading your journal essentially. And that's really cool. I didn't know that was your actual journal on the cover. Do you do your own cover art?
I worked with my friend who took the photo. And we were even roommates at the time. So we were just having a blast, like creating all the content from our house. So she's still a close friend. So I love getting to work with people who are already just friends. And but I do like to be as involved with the whole process. And I love the hands-on approach. So for that, I don't really know if it's that noticeable, but Prologue, it's not even typed letters. Like I literally, at Hobby Lobby, they had little stamps. Like letters. And so, I put letters down and I just like the hands-on approach of like a collage or painting or so if I can be involved, I'd rather be involved some way than, sending it off and having a graphic, which, I mean, if I could do it, I would do that too. But I'm like, put some things down and then we could take a photo.
No, I think it's really cool.
I
think it's really cool.
Thank you.
Which track is the most special to you from Prologue?
I think I'll just say recently, since it's like hard to, I have different reasons why I like different ones. But I say recently Lost to Be Found, has kind of come back up because I've had a couple shows where I've been able to do that one. And that's the one maybe I did the least for, like I didn't do a video or anything prior. And, I hadn't sung it outside the studio really, until these couple of shows, and in doing them, I liked singing that because especially in maybe like a secular venue or something, where I can just kind of call people to, hey, let's look over our life, and see all the randomness or the hurt and the pain and make sense of it. What do we have at the end when all the things that maybe we're grabbing for or chasing after the wind, and when we come up empty-handed, is there anything left that maybe we should grasp now on this side of eternity? And so songs where I get to just maybe lay out or ask questions and make people think. I really enjoyed getting to sing that recently.
Absolutely. That's a really good song. What do you want listeners of Prologue to walk away knowing?
So if you listen to the first interlude, kind of setting up the record, it kind of discusses how all these things in our life, I'm trying to think out of a word without like actually just repeating that whole thing. But like basically, what's it all for? And this record specifically focuses on like life experience or as a means to see God, which is great, but it is the prologue. So it's kind of twofold. Like the prologue interlude was introducing Prologue as a record, but it's also introducing kind of what's next. This record talks a lot about the here and now and seeing God, which is important because we are here and now. But in the next phase of music, I want it to be about heaven and just about eternal things. So it's trying to use that as a catalyst to see the next thing, because that's what life is. Life is to set us up to know God, make him known, to obey him and love him here, to then live eternally with him. And so I hope that it gets people to maybe use my experience, but hopefully you see your own experiences in there as a way to find God, to see God, and to be known by him, and then get to where we're going, which is, eternal things, and get our mind outside of this world.
I think even, let me look at something really quick. I don't know if you use the Bible app, but the verse of the day is Colossians 3:1. And so, it says, if you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above where Christ is, sitting at the right hand of God. And then that's one translation. And then the other one, NIV, is, since then you've been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. And I think that's something, I loved what you said. First of all, that's just so cool. Like, it's prologue, but then it's also like prologue, like eternity. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I think something that has been easy for me to fall into, just with everything going on, even still now, but especially, over the past 2 years, is it's easy to allow everything the world is shouting to bring me down, and to bring my mental state there. And you kind of touched on that too. I even experienced kind of a period of time where I was like so upset, with how people were misrepresenting Christ, that I was letting it drag me down. And I feel like that's my inclination, is to just complain and grumble. But God is constantly like, okay, yes, but let's look here. I'm still here. Let's reframe your mind. And so I love the idea of well, not the idea, I guess it's an important fact to embrace, that this life on earth is temporary. It's just the beginning, essentially, or pre-beginning. And so, I think that's a really cool concept.
Yes.
On a video that you posted on your Instagram that was taken at a house show a while back, you spoke about the importance of having just a reason for gratitude, and started basically sharing the gospel, talking about Jesus's goodness and sufficiency and sovereignty, and him being the blessing, and something that I think, you do really well through your music, but also I guess in instances like that, from what I've seen, is you really, it seems like you seize the moment, to really stop and like share the gospel in a clear way that will really resonate with people. Do you think it's important for artists to kind of set up that moment or kind of seize the moment in that way?
I think it is so important. I really can't imagine God being like, hey, I'm going to give you, this platform. You can sing about me, but you can even make it, mysterious and just have fun. And then that's it. That's all it's for. When he's giving you people that are looking at you, whether it's one, whether it's 1,000, a million, there is a responsibility on behalf of the person with the microphone to want to represent him well, because it's not even with a microphone. You could be anything. You could be a doctor. You could be this or that. But we were created to reflect God's attributes and who he is rightly. And when we don't do so, we make him out to be a liar. And that's what sin does. And so no matter the sphere, we are to use our gifts, various gifts, to serve God as faithful stewards of his graciousness towards us. And so I have felt the weight of just conviction, and it's grown throughout my life to be just even, and I hope it will continue to grow, to be even more of a call to continue in that. I used to think, a little one-liner, that'll do the trick, and it's like,
Jesus.
but the more you get to know him, it's like he's so much richer than a lot of times we maybe set him out to be, or but it takes, it's the more you know him as rich that you see him as that and want to represent him as that. And so I know that he has grown me again from a place where I could not even speak to now I actually want to speak a lot more. So I'm actually writing songs to set me up to be able to present something like the gospel. Because you can only sing so much. I hope it all makes sense, but let's also talk about it. And so I have just felt the weight of that and the responsibility. And again, if he is our cause, if he is our purpose, we're not there just to sing a song and sound pretty. We are there with the view of eternal souls at stake, to remember our own wandering and despair had we not heard. And I know for me, like, I grew up in the church and I was double church. Like, I went to the school of my church for a long time, and then I switched to public school. But all through that time, I was a Christian. I'm saved. I gave my life to God when I was 4, and I do believe that was true.
Nice.
Getting to learn what that was ever since. But in college, someone came to our campus, never saw him again, but he preached what I believe was just such a clear, concise, big view picture of Genesis to Revelation, the gospel, God's redemptive plan, taking you out of yourself. This was not a gospel that fed into temporal things, into temporal blessings, and to a nice Christian life. This was a gospel that was eternal and that we're actually going so, and it was so much bigger. And when I heard that, it was one of those things where it was some kind of light bulb went off, and I felt like I was looking around. I started voice memoing everything he was saying. And again, it's like stuff I've heard, but not so clear to where I can respond in an instant because of how he set it up. And it was just scripture, and it's not like it was some crazy thing that only he can do. But I remember looking around the room and being like, is anyone else hearing this? Like, what is he saying? I've never heard it like this in my life. And so I know that no matter the audience, no matter the room, no matter the person that you're working with, even if they say that they're a Christian, there is a large percentage of people who maybe like myself haven't heard it that clear. Yeah. And so if we can get to know God and get to know the clarity that he gives in his word by knowing and upholding scripture, then hopefully we can participate in bringing something just as clear to people. And I think maybe I wouldn't hold it as such a responsibility had that not happened and had that guy not come. And it made so much more sense. And I'm like, I want to make sure that it makes sense like that. And he'll give you, the boldness, and that grows over time too. Because at first you don't really want to be that crazy person. But every time he's like, no, just trust me. And people will receive it, because anyone will be like, they're going to think you're crazy. But he really does use it in ways that you might not even
Yeah.
see. So I think it's extremely important to answer your
Absolutely.
question.
No, I think that's a really cool experience. And honestly, I feel like evangelism is like so important, but I feel like the enemy wants to make it like the scariest thing ever, you know, in our minds. No matter the format, whether that's through music, you know, at a show, or just your best friend that you've known, you know, for years, or your family member. Like, I get scared, you know, and I feel like this again, time and time again, God's like, yeah, but like, I died for you, you know, and like, aren't you excited about what I did for you? And so, yeah, I just love the courage that you have to be able to so clearly image Christ and discuss Christ, even in the middle of like a show. What are some scriptures that God has been using to encourage you with lately?
Let's see. I'm reading through the Bible right now, so I'm like, oh,
the whole thing.
Seriously, like reading it. I mean, it's so crazy how much we take out of context.
Oh, yeah.
And just how much more when you read it in
its entirety.
How do you start about the beginning?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that crazy. You have to try to figure out or wonder how to read it. It really, so sometimes, I mean, I don't remember the last time I set out I still try to read in context and know what's going on, but I don't remember the last time I set out to read from the start to the finish. And so I'm just up to that right now. And during that, it's been like, oh my gosh, I've definitely taken that out of context, or this is so much more now. Yeah. And so I'm trying to think of specifics. It's been a lot, but I do have a psalm that I would like to read at some point during this, so maybe I'll do that. It kind of goes along with what we're talking about, so maybe I'll just
go ahead.
But Psalm 90. Okay. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations, before the mountains were born, or you gave birth to the earth and the world. Even from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You turn man back into dust and say, return, O children of men. For 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it passes by, or as a watch in the night. You have swept them away like a flood. They fall asleep. In the morning they are like grass, which sprouts anew. In the morning it flourishes and sprouts anew. Toward evening it fades and withers away. For we have been consumed by your anger, and by your wrath we have been dismayed. You have placed our iniquities before you, our secret sin in the light of your presence. For all our days have declined in your fury. We have finished our yearns like a sigh. As for the days of our life, they contain 70 years, or if into strength, 80 years, yet their pride is but labor and sorrow, for soon it is gone and we fly away. Who understands the power of your anger and your fury according to the fear that is due you? So, teach us to number our days, that we may present to you a heart of wisdom. Do return, O Lord. How long will it be? And be sorry for your servants. O satisfy us in the morning with your loving kindness, that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days you have afflicted us and the years we have seen evil. Let your work appear to your servants, and your majesty to their children. Let the favor of the Lord God be upon us, and confirm for us the works of our hands. Yes, confirm the works of our hands. That kind of goes along with what you were talking about with, you know, we are here and we see him misrepresented, or we see evil, or we have days, we are afflicted because we walk in the shadow of death here, no matter what. Maybe we're having a good day, but in reality, we are in the shadow of death on this side. And, but there is a way to have purpose here, and he is working. And so just continuing to number our days, like we were talking about, seeing eternity, and asking him to please confirm the works of my hands, of your hands, because otherwise it is just endless labor and strife for what? And what am I building, like, if not his kingdom? And so, I just wanted to share that.
Just casual, you know, just, God's
word just
No,
like that.
it's good. It's so good. And yeah, that's such a good, I've heard that verse a lot. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a part of wisdom. And it's true. It's true, especially us being so young right now. It's easy. Well, I mean, it's gotten easier to see death in the past couple of years, but it's easy as a young person to think, and to be like, whatever. Yeah, I have my whole life. I have all these dreams, and when I get older, I'll do this, this, and that. And it's like, yeah, but like, look around, and yeah, it's so important. So thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Can you tell us about any new projects in the works?
So this would be a little anticlimactic, but still it's exciting because I know that the God who did all these other projects, he's up to something. It's not like I have a label and they're like, you can't say anything. I literally don't know what he's doing, but I feel it. And it is, I feel different than last year. Last year, I kind of knew there was going to be space in between a project and the next one. And I didn't know if it would last the whole year, but it did. I was doing stuff with Little Plug, Journey Worship Co., with my church, Journey Church. They have a record that came out last year that was a big part of my year, being a part of that. And so I'm on a few of those songs, and but the whole record I recommend to you guys. But so I didn't know, if I would put out some solo stuff, and there was kind of a lull. And then, but again, now that I'm here, I can see it was so necessary, and the stripping and everything is done, and how now I'm approaching music and the stage and things like that. And so I kind of had a similar thing of 2020. I feel a little shift. I feel like, okay, this isn't last year. God is doing something new. And I met with my friend and producer and kind of had a similar conversation of, okay, like, how will we approach this next thing? And I don't think it'll be as fast. It won't be like we're doing something in a weekend's time that we're then going to present in a few months, which is fine. It doesn't normally work like that. I do like to do it. We're camping out for a few days and just get it done. And memories of like being together. But I think for this next one, it's going to be, we're just going to start. And it is funneling into a pool of songs that, they're not singles for nothing. I think hopefully it depends, but maybe a full length something record, but maybe it's maybe, but I might come out as singles, but it is going somewhere to make it all come back together. But that's kind of that. And then some collabs and stuff, but no dates right now to tell you about. So that's how it is with guys sometimes, like days, we're walking daily. But when I I will let you guys know.
No, absolutely. We're excited to hear whatever God is doing in your life. And it's a gift, it's a gift to get to hear your heart. And so we're excited. And then
I'm such a fan of you guys
what's
too.
That?
And you and your, I'm such a fan.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really fun. It's a fun platform, to get to be able to steward. Honestly, like shout out to Paula, just really being obedient in the vision that God has given her. And then just like seeking help, and then God just being like, just making those connections. It's been amazing to see just what he's done in my own life through SheHH. And also I think full circle moments, like getting to talk to you, getting to speak with Darla, like people who kind of I've touched base with in passing, or we've worked on other projects with, and now getting to really discuss just your heart and in its entirety it's a privilege. And so it's something I'm grateful for.
So sweet.
Yeah. But last question, and it's a big one, and I always just drop it on people at the last moment, but take it as you will. What do you want your legacy to be?
So
everyone's always like, okay, okay, yeah.
So big. I do kind of, I haven't asked before, so you just kind of have to, and plus you want to be thinking about these things. Why am I here? What's the legacy? So it's kind of I'm trying to think if I should, with my song Funny Feeling off of Prologue, and just like the short last outro thing, I kind of wrote that from a place of sitting on a rocking chair, looking over my life, talking with God in like a very casual way. Like that's just kind of how I viewed it. And laughing, and like if he was showing me the movie of my life, kind of like sitting back and laughing at all the times maybe I was scared to do something, or I didn't really trust him until later, or maybe I didn't trust him at all for something. And it's a funny feeling just kind of watching it all unfold, and maybe just, again, this is a made up dialogue with God, but just kind of laughing over the struggles and the strife and all that we make this life out to be, when really it's just him. And so in thinking about that, I just hope that my life would reflect his glory. I believe that is the alignment, that we were created to do that. And in whatever way that he wants to do that, I will agree. And I hope to continue to submit to that and to seek his will. So, that he would just be made known.
Absolutely. Because what else? I mean, going back to your caption right now, like what else lasts forever but the Lord, the word of the Lord, and the souls of people. So, well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your words of wisdom, for, again, just being willing to share. And everybody go check out Trulah on any streaming platform. Go up, check her out on socials, and just keep up. Say hi. She's so easily accessible. Yeah, just reach out.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
We're really nobody. There in the DMs. Just don't
be weird about it. Anyway, well, we hope you enjoyed this chat, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating wherever you're listening to this, and to follow us on Instagram at SheHH Podcast.